God eftermiddag, hyvää iltapäivää, and welcome to a combined seminar with real human beings and a webinar, Designing Sustainable Businesses here in Jakobstad, Pietarsaari. My name is Thomas Knuts. I'm working at Jakobstad Region Development Company Concordia. Together with my colleagues Göran Östberg in Vas region and Rasmus Hautala in Närpes Kristinestad region, we are helping Ostrobothnian companies transitioning to circular economy and becoming more sustainable. As part of that, we have published a roadmap in which companies get hand-on advice on how to walk the circularity walk and talk the talk. In the chat, for those who are joining online, you will find a link to our roadmap. But now back to the afternoon ahead. According to the European Commission, 80% of climate impact and 90% of manufacturing costs of a product are a result of decisions made in the design stage. The design affects the manufacturing process and the choice of material. The design is also a criteria for choosing a sustainable product. But what is a sustainable product and how can you design one? During today's seminar, we will discuss how to design sustainable products and services and why a circular design is crucial for businesses the coming years. We have promised you an eye-opening event, and I almost dare to promise you a money-back guarantee if we don't succeed in giving you at least some new ideas today. I'm happy to introduce the host of this seminar, Malin Winberg from Novia University of Applied Sciences here in Jakobstad, who will guide us through the afternoon. Thanks for that, Malin. Please take the floor.
Thank you, Thomas. Let's see. So a big hello from me as well. Welcome, everybody. So like Thomas said, my name is Malin Winberg, and I work here, third floor on Novia as a project manager. Today's seminar is called Building Sustainable Businesses. And it's wonderful to see that the subject of sustainability and sustainability in design engages so many people. We are moving a bottle of water. We are over 100 participants today. And as Thomas mentioned, it's wonderful that we can have this as a hybrid event. So we have people joining on Zoom and we have people here in Campus Allegro, which is an extra bonus. We haven't had that for quite a while. So welcome to everybody. Before I introduce our first speaker, I want to do some housekeeping. We have a total of 4 speakers here today. And after the first 2, Tapani Jokinen and Martin Willers, we have actually reserved 15 minutes just before the coffee break for a Q&A session. So in this session, both Tapani and Martin will participate. So if you have any questions during the first 2 talks, please write them down in the chat. Or if you're here, just drop them down somewhere so you don't forget, and then just raise your hand during the Q&A session. We might not be able to take all questions, but we'll of course try to take as many as possible. That said, if there is time, we will also take some questions in between the 2 talks. It just depends on how we keep to our time, and I'm looking at the time, we're good so far. Also, I want to mention that we will be recording this event. So, time to introduce our first speaker, Tapani Jokinen. Now, I just heard that his CV is actually 5 pages long, so I'll do the short version here. I won't go through it all. But Tapani has over 25 years of extensive design experience in various capacities and global locations. Today, Tapani works as a design consultant at Fraunhofer IZM and Taival Oy, And he's also, of course, the founder of Tapani Jokinen Design. His background is in industrial design, product design, strategic and advanced design, as well as, of course, circular design. And I saw a quick video clip where Tapani describes his main purpose in working life, of course, now, as when it comes to his work, that he's now working towards enhancing circularity. And he does this by helping businesses to apply circular design principles in order to make the business's products, services, and of course also the businesses on a whole more sustainable and thus also more resilient. So have to mention also, of course, that he was head of design portfolio and strategy at Microsoft Nokia for many years, and was the initial designer behind the iconic Nokia 3310, which I'm certain many of you have had in your back pockets. Back in the days, I know I had. So he is also one of the authors of the Eco Design Learning Factory program. As part of that, he teaches training modules and facilitates innovation workshops, and then, of course, lectures on circular design at seminars and conferences. And that is, of course, why he's here today. Tapani's topic today is sustainability starts with design. And as we are all aware, and as Thomas mentioned earlier as well, there is an ever-increasing pressure put on businesses today to act more environmentally sustainable. The fact is that most of these environmental burdens are determined by decisions that are made in the product development stage. So, in other words, design is the key to move from a linear system to a more circular economy. So I'm very certain that Tapani will tell us more about this and much more. So without further ado, welcome to the stage. The floor is yours, Tapani. Ole hyvä.
Thank you, Malin. Kind words. Yeah, hello. I'm really thrilled to be here. I mean, almost 1.5 years being a talking heads with my computer screen and having a live audience in here, and also hello for everyone in Zoom conference. First, I want to thank Thomas Nutz and Concordia to invite me here. This was absolutely fantastic to come and see how lively and dynamic the business ecosystem you have here in Jakobstad. So I will start. Oh, okay, I have to press something first. Yeah. Okay. Okay, thank you. So the essence of design is always storytelling. It's not actually the object what you are seeing. If you really wanted to have the bond and relationship of objects and stuff what you're having, it's super important that you are telling the story also. Here you could see some of the stories. If I go through all those stories, it would take the whole afternoon and evening and stealing time from Dan and Martin and Emma's presentation. So I will not go so deeply on here, but what this shows you is basically that in early stage already in Nokia, I understand that the great success like Nokia 3310, we sold that model 125 million pieces, and Nokia 1100, we sold 235 million pieces. And it's great. I mean, they have saved many lives. There have been a huge benefit for the people and all that. But at the same time, they have produced enormous amount of e-waste. So we really have to fundamentally change how and what we are actually designing. So we are really in a game change mode at the moment. Climate change, global warming. Today, everything changed, and ecological challenges is one of the biggest, but not the only one. But all the disruptions in our time, everything comes at the same time. Even this pandemic, corona viruses and all the others, everything have the impact. Also, the working life is changing, robotics, automatization. Lots of people in the near future will lose their work on maybe not lost the work, but at least the work life and how we are working will change really dramatical way. But anyway, today we are really focused on ecological challenges, global warming, pollution, and that actually creates enormous economic risk. So we are talking about systematic change that how products and business are designed today, and how we are actually getting in a resource-wise economic model that is regenerative by nature, and it operates by planetary boundaries. Many times when people are talking about circular economy, they are talking about that, yeah, we are saving the planet Earth. I don't know about that, because honestly, the planet Earth will be fine without us here, and it will cover itself in the long term and so on. So actually what we are saving at the moment is ourselves, that this planet could offer a condition for life and biodiversity and all that what we are needing. Other things that we should always remember, the planet Earth is totally isolated system, that everything is interconnected in there. So for example, all our materials, water, fine metals, oil, everything is given to us. They are in this planet, but we can't get anything more in here. So everything what we are using, it's all based on our ecosystem. Only regenerative things is the solar power and what we are getting in our planet. But all the other things are already here, and we should really carefully think how we are using this planet. And a little bit about the mind setting also, that if we are thinking of nature, in nature, there is no such a thing like waste. In nature, nothing is wasted. Everything is recycled. And actually, waste doesn't exist. And this is the mindset. Tomorrow, in the morning, when you have a breakfast and others, think about it, that there's no waste. And actually, there is no waste. The waste exists when you are wasting it, that. Even when you are eating the bananas and you have those bananas covers and others, it have a huge amount of energy and others that you could actually produce biofuels and all the other things. So if we are recycling all our stuff. So yeah, when the tree dies, the other plants will use all that energy what is stored in there, and new plants will grow. One of my favorite architects also, and the innovator, the Buckminster Fuller, he wrote already in 1968, "Spaceship Earth needs maintenance, don't break it." And it's a wonderful that he saw already the big system on those days, that if you think about planet Earth and we inside that planet, we are all cosmonauts, we are all astronauts. And if you go to the space, the space station, for example, you have to go through 6 years training that you will survive in space. but we people here, we don't get any kind of education how we should actually act and behave on this spaceship Earth where we all are. 90%, yeah, this was 2019. 90% of all the stuff what we are producing, all the materials what we are using, only 9% is recycled. So all the industries what we have today, yeah, they are creating great products and benefit and all that, but actually they are producing enormous amount of waste. And really sad, in this year, they calculated that 80.6% is recycled. So we are going in the wrong direction at the moment. So as I said, it's really systematic change what we have to do at the moment. So what goes around comes around, and only way forward is to come up with the product services that could be really truly low carbon or even zero carbon services. And as I said, these disruptions, and this shows really well that it's really forming all the businesses what we are doing at the moment. First of all, like let's look at the customer demand today. So customers really understand today and value the sustainable. And if there is a sustainable option in the market, many of us will select that. Only challenge today is not knowing which one is the most sustainable options, but EU is working on that with eco-labeling and all the other things, that giving that information for customers to make sustainable purchasing. Investors and EU is putting money on green projects and initiatives. So also money follows this green movement at the moment. It's good and bad, regulation and putting place in stricter regulations. Usually I don't believe so much punishment. I believe more awarding good behavior and those kind of things. But time is up and we can't wait anymore. And that's why EU is putting more and more tighter regulations in place. And then at the same time also digitalization, the whole competition and companies to survive. So many things happens at the same time. So what I'm saying here, that brands that don't embrace the circular economy now will disappear out of the business. First of all, consumers will not buy their products, and governments and new regulation like Green Deal make impossible them to sell those in the EU in the market. So we are forced to change basically at the moment. So how to do it? Yeah, and why? Circular. Okay, yeah, I have this slide also. So this is a really overview, basically what is at the moment. So in the products and productation, there's a lot of right to repair movement at the moment. French government have launched the repairability index that the products have to show for the customers that how good it is. Means also that products have and manufacturer have to offer spare parts and the guiding user guides how to repair those products. So it really huge change. And I already mentioned the eco design labels, that how sustainable those products are and durability and those kind of things. From waste to resource, packaging waste, waste reduction. And by the way, already waste will cost you a lot because you have to pay wages on waste. So all the waste side streams and others, it's super important to find some usable way to keep those ongoing. Plastics, and this is also that nowadays everybody thinks that plastic is evil and it will pollute our oceans and all the others. It's not the plastic problem. We had a design problems. We are designing. We are not so good to design products today, and we are using wrong plastics because most of the plastics are actually recyclable. So we should really come up in our game and understand what kind of plastics we are using in there. And then, yeah, I mentioned already on economic side that it really changed the way, and also the business models will change dramatic way in the near future. This is cool. This is an early stage Berlin-based startup that I'm starting to help them as an advisor in there. It's a fully circular kitchen application. Actually, we are aiming even have all the electronics and the electric engines, everything that it's reused and repurposed. So our goal is to create this type of kitchen objects or art objects out of the waste that bringing something new. And the brand called Funk, and this is a new functional products that seeing, and what is really cool also, it used the standard glass yards that we all have in our kitchens. So pretty interesting how this will go. So why circular design? And this is, for example, a good sample. I'm a visual person. So when I really started to deliver and work on new methodologies and ways how to actually design more sustainable products and services, first thing was that I was asking the Oracle Google and putting eco design, putting circular design and other keywords in there. And this was visually what I got. So making trash out of the trash. I mean, it's all cool. It's all cool. Taking a Coca-Cola bottle and creating a sofa to your living room and all the others. But this is not the vision what I have in my mind. That is on the right side on you. And also it's super important that I think that the sustainable product doesn't yell that I'm green, I'm sustainable. It's just better than existing products. It's just so much better. And also reliability and the lifespan is longer on those products. Then we have succeeded to do something really, really great. Yeah, there is what Victor Papanek said in the 70s already, that there are professions more harmful than industrial design, but only few of them. And it's so much true. We misuse our creativity today. So we designers creating new desires for you all the time. And you all know who have a car, for example, that your car is totally fine. But still, what the brand is doing, they change, making a life, the face lift up every second year, that your current model start to look really old. And even the technical side and others, it's totally fine. but it's really, and also the planet obsolescence. Planet obsolescence is innovated by designers. So how we could speed up the circle of getting new products into the market. So change have to happen in here. One comment also here. I talk about design. I talk about designers. I don't mean designers that your background or your educational background means that you are a designer. I call designers everyone who are working in a new product development, creating new services, creating a new products and others. All what I'm touching really on you. Here you could see on left side, this is a typical how in design thinking and how we define a good product today. And this is Stanford and IDEO who made that the good product have to fulfill people needs, user needs, business needs, and technology needs. And then often you see that innovation lays in the middle. And it was already pretty difficult to make a good product that will really pass all those demands in there. But now it's getting really interesting because now overarching issue is the whole circular ecosystem, the macro level in there, that all the products have always a negative impact. And what will be the impact in the social side, cultural side, policy, ecological, environmental impacts. And you all the time when you are doing something, you really have to think about it. And we are all problem solvers, for example, that, okay, I had a problem and you start to solve it. But usually we just solving a microscopic problems actually. We are fixing the symptom, but not what actually caused the problem. So that's why also we have to look at the system all the time. What kind of impact, positive and negative impacts on our action and decisions have. And that is a little bit tricky because we haven't used on that. And there is a many times rebound effect on those that when you fix something and you think that everything is fine, many times it caused even more problems. So that's why it's super important to zoom out and see the big picture, that what will be the impact in the long term on what we are doing. This is the equation funneling. I don't know how many of you in audience are sitting on the management board and making those kind of product decisions and others. So basically when the proper heads coming to you and proposing a new innovation and new products, these are the three essential questions that you always have to make, which based on that Stanford thinking, that first is desirability. Do people really need this? Do they really want to buy this product, and so on? So making sure that it will fulfill their needs and wishes. The second one is feasibility. That is more in the technical side, especially for the manufacturing producers. They have to look at, of course, that, yeah, how is our assembly line, how is our machinery, could we actually make this product? Do we have existing technology? Is the maturity level enough for technology side that we could bring that? Do we have the IPRs, the patents, that we could actually bring that in the market? And do we have competencies? What kind of gaps we have? And so on, so on. And then, of course, the viability side, the business side. How well this product will fit on our strategy, our portfolio. Are we going to make some profit? out of it, how this will affect our brand and all those. So as I said, it's already really difficult to make a good product through all these gates what we have. But nowadays we have this horizontal side, which is the environmental impacts, which are going with those verticals that you always have to look at also that side. This is a little bit cradle to cradle thinking, and in the past we were focusing a lot on minimizing the environmental impact, which is okay. But as I said, again, it's in a micro level, not in a macro level aspiration. And that's why we are actually looking today more how we could optimize the positive impact of that. And then it's getting really tricky. You just said that all the products have always negative impact. Yeah, it's true, but some of the innovation that you are bringing could also change that more towards the positive side. So being less bad is not being more good. This is really true on this case. Here is a good example of the company who have this positive impact, how they are doing. Interface is the company who makes the office floors, full carpets and those kind of things. And they come up with the new type of materials in there. First of all, they don't do at all any carpets if they don't get old carpets in, which is already a huge problem for them because their business is growing all the time. So they haven't never even produced enough carpets that they could grow and make more of those. But there are ways to bring recycled materials in there. But the biggest innovation here is actually that this carpet is aggregate carbon dioxide from the air. So it's absorbing and capturing the carbon from the air. So it's actually doing good. And we have seen a lot of this type of innovation also in the construction, in the building industry, that some of the panels in the city, the outside, the facade, could actually collect the pollution from the cars and others and capture that in there. So this type of innovation without sustainability, circular economy thinking, this kind of innovation would never ever appear. So it really brings new type of innovation in a place. There is a lot of circular economy and circular design strategies. This is one of the easiest to remember. So efficiency, consistency, and sufficiency. And as we all know that efficiency, we have work on efficiency, leaning the production, leaning everything, all the processes for 10, 20 years. And I have to say that today in Europe, how optimize our manufacturing capabilities and others, we are really high already in there. But how much we have put effort on sufficiency or consistency. So if we are focused a little bit more on those sides, it would have an enormous impact also. So one way to think circular economy and circular design could be also optimizing the process, taking this lean eco-design approach. And this is the most challenging things in today in Europe with the companies, because different business units and departments are responsible on sourcing, on manufacturing, on marketing, on delivering those and all that. So you have to change the way you are working, that you are actually solving those problems together, that you could really have a real impact on things. And McKinsey's have calculated that you could cut up 50% of product cost also there if you are doing it right. So everybody always come to me and say that, yeah, but this eco design, circular design, that will cost extra. Are we getting ROI? Are we getting a return of investments of that? But it really, I will show some slides that we have to change our way of how we are also measuring our success in there. But I will talk a little bit more on that. This is really this changing the view and mindset. This is the CEO of Philips, Frans van Houten, who said that if product is 5% more expensive to manufacture, but in 8 years you get 30% of its value back, then that is definitely a good business for you. So good example is that you want to replace the plastic using a bioplastic, and we all know that bioplastics today might cost even 10 times more than the cheapest polymers, what are made out of the virgin plastic, oil-based things. Sure, but if you are looking the whole system all the time, and you create a product service system and take back programs and others, it could change the whole thing. Those €2 that you put more in your product might be really profitable in the long term. Okay, so the biggest change is really that systemic design, what we are looking at the moment, and learn to zoom in and zoom out and understand those impacts. And here's a good example what Eliel teach to Eero Saarinen when he was a kid, that if somebody asks you to design a chair, you should always design on next larger context. So where the chair is, that is in a room, and you design a room. Where is the room? It's in a house. Where is the house? In a city plan, and so on. And if I take our thinking in here, the first question that you as a designer should ask, do people really need a chair? Or is it something else that they actually need? Yeah, this is circular economy for loops, that we are losing the value all the time and create lots of waste in there. And a good sample is mobile phone. When I bought this cost €800 for me. And honestly, even it's in a bad condition and all that, the value for me is still €800 because it's functional, all the apps, everything what I have in here still working. So the value is in here. So we should always focus first on inner circle, how we could extend the lifetime of the product and keep it in a good condition, that value stays in there. The second is that reuse. So I get bored and I want the new one, and I will sell this to Thomas. So Thomas could maybe pay me 200, 250. So I have lost lots of money already and value on there. Even the lifespan, it's good from the big picture because the life of this phone will continue somewhere. When we are going in remanufacturing, repurposing, when you go in the phone dealers and you are giving your old phone there, they might pay you €25 when you are giving your old phone there, which is okay because it's a little bit cheaper than new phone what you are buying, but again you have lost huge amount of value. And then end of the life, and recycle side. When this is going in a recycled company, they crush it, and they only take few metals and valuable materials out of it, and maybe the value what they will get out of this 2.5, 3 euros, and so on. So what we could learn on here is really that finding the new strategies and methods how to keep products alive, because all the energy, all the materials, it's already stored in here. I need that. So again, about the mindset, think about that each product is the deposit account for precious materials and should be designed so that they remain in useful use or recycled. And think about all the products in before 80s and even in 80s. All the products have screws. All the products were repairable and all that. And then suddenly we were stepping in a mass market, huge volumes and others, and now everything is glued together and you can't anymore separate or dismantling the products what we have. And if your products get broken, nobody even look at that or thinking to repair it. They are giving the new one immediately to you. And it's a big challenge, for example, all the earplugs, headsets, which are super popular today, that my son, for example, I don't tell the brand name, but I think that he got 5 brand new headsets because all the time some small problems, and those headsets cost 300 euros. So it was pretty bad business for them, and they don't do anything. They just crash those, unfortunately. Okay, so let's look at the linear economy. What is happening in there? So we extract huge amount of material using energy, producing enormous amount of waste, getting those in your factory, and again refining that material, again waste and energy, creating a product in a global system, economic system, what we have, shipping those from China to Europe or US, using enormous amount of energy again on logistics side. Most of the products have pretty short lifespan when it's really valuable for you, and then waste. So we are accumulating a lot of waste, as I said. So this is basically what you could see, that this is what we should do, closing those. I have a different, no. This is really strange because I could see the closing the loops, actually, the inner circle and others, but this slide doesn't show those. So again, focus first on the inner circles, how to extend the use in there, repair, maintain, all that, and then all the others. So in this side, we are adding the value, extracting materials, creating a great products out of it, and we should focus how we could retain the value all the time. And that's why also we have to look at also digital side all the time, that what kind of business models, what kind of product service system you have to create, to connecting the dots. Because the problem for producing stuff and be a manufacturer today is without digital platforms, you are really lost. You don't have connection and relationship with the end user. So the digital side is really connecting those actors in there. Life cycles, yeah, I will not go through. I think that those are all what I'm talking here, and also methods and practical tools and others. Here you could see the web page, what we create in Fraunhofer circular design tools. And there is the whole process also, how those working. But using this kind of life cycle canvas to see the big picture and understanding the actors also, that changing the filters from physical products to digital, looking the partners, because you can't solve those problems by yourself, and any company should not going too far away from their core business, and then looking the environmental. So this help you to see the big picture, that how good product you have. This is one sustainability by design. When I left Nokia Microsoft, was it 2014 or something like that, then I jumped to a new startup in Finland called Circular Devices, and what we were aiming there, creating a most sustainable smartphone that you could actually keep alive in 10 years. And it all based on modular approach, that it have only 3 parts in here: the brain, where main electronics are, then the battery side, and then the spine, where it's only the display. And actually this was the real winner concept, because you could upgrade. You never actually change your phone fully. You only have to change, for example, a brain, which have the memory and processor and chipsets and all that. So it's simplifying the system a lot. But here you could see that how the whole system is working. So we didn't reduce the waste. When you change the brain part, there were always a second use for it. When your life changing and you get the kids, suddenly you are facing situation that you need a baby monitor, for example. So this was perfect. It has a camera, it had a recording system and all that. So you could use that in there, or your home needs burglar alarm, you could do that. You have old car, but you want to get the more modern Android-based infotainment system in your car. Yeah, you just plug in that in your car and you get the Android system in there. So we were thinking through on whole thing, and also that what else you could build on that. And you could build a simple internet browsing computer for your home and different usage of it. Unfortunately, we didn't succeed to secure the funding on this, so this project is on hold at the moment. So I have talked a lot about the micro level and macro level. So the cornerstones is really, again, customer experience, optimizing the product, and then optimizing also the way you do the business in there. And you have to look at both sides, micro and macro level. One important stuff is also that when I use different terms, eco-design and circular design, do anyone in audience knows what you think that is the difference with eco-design and circular design? Or is there any? No. How I see it, eco-design is well-established term, and we were starting to use that already in early 70s. But it's pretty much about that leaning, optimizing the product and minimizing the environmental impact on that, but not looking so much in a system. And circular design is more modern, today's approach. So you enhance the circularity around it and the product service system and all that. That's why I use more circular design as a term. And what I'm saying here, today, a physical product doesn't exist anymore, honestly. There's not such thing that a physical object. All the objects, all the products have some kind of digital platform to support that. if nothing else, at least the online shop or something that you could buy it. But the tractor shows really well that it was a standalone product and helping farming and so on. And it was the product economy where we were. And then current area is that we are adding services and connected using the IoT and connected certain sensors and others, making the products more smart, that it tells when it needs maintenance and so on. So optimizing the use of it. But actually we are already, and some companies are already in here that are looking data economy and the product system already. And a good example of this is John Deere, that they have shifting when you buy the John Deere tractor, for example. So it's actually the crop production system already. It's full of sensors that are actually censoring the moisture of the soil, and also what kind of fertilizer you need, and it sends the data for those companies that could contact the farmers that you might need this. So digital is the key sustainable enabler. So we could implement more smart and efficient new technologies that use less energy and hopefully are longer lasting things. And second one is really cool, that you should think about software update. And that is cool. Actually, old technology, you could expand the lifetime of that if you would offer updates on software side. But many times companies don't want to do it because they want to sell their new products. Of course, the data economy, as I said, you could enable operational improvements and having analytic big data and those kind of things. Installing platforms that enable more sustainable technologies, the whole system integration and all that. And most important for us is influence and empower citizens, consumers, having this connection with your brands and others. So I think that I'm a little bit late. Yeah, seems like. And now finally I'm getting into the topic. Yeah, I know. A circular design. So what I'm saying in here, it's really changing fundamentally how we are designing things. And then this image what I made here, if you have a ruler, you know that you could draw the line. You need new tools, new way of doing this stuff. Where is that scratch in there? I don't know. Okay, and now we need a compass to actually draw the arc in here. So 80%, as you heard already, environmental pollution and 90% of manufacturing costs are results of decision taking and product design stage, which mean that before you make any ideas or draw anything in your paper and finding the solution, you have to have the framework, the specification and understanding in a place. So you have to put much more effort on beginning than in the design stage. So circularity starts with design. So you should design for maintainability, repairability, compatibility, upgradability, dismantleability, recyclability, because you can't retrofit those later on. If you want to have a recyclable product, you have to design it to be a recyclable and so on. So products should not only be designed by perform, but also last and to be repaired when needed. And this is also important. To design practices which support ease of disassembly. And I think that Martin will talk a lot on these topics in a transparent display also. The design process, I don't know how familiar you are in here, but the most important, we have two diamonds in here. This is the double diamond design process, design thinking process developed by British design console. And it basically means that what you could see in here, that this cover stage, when somebody is coming that we need this or we need that, first you should really ask that, do we really need that? So you have to have a research stage to understand the problem and what is the real problem. That's what people are saying to you are hardly ever a real problem, what you are having. And then in defined states, when you have collect enough insight, you understand what to do, then you create the design brief. And usually this design brief is missing on Double Diamond. But I think that it's the most important and most valuable document ever in product development. This brief is a framework, the specification, where you put your goals, your aspiration, all what you actually want to achieve and how you're going to do that. Because when you actually start to design by doing, concepting, creating a solution for that, testing, prototyping, getting that in a place and launch that, this document is the anchor point and it's the only document that you could measure your success against that. Otherwise, things are changing all the time, and you always create better ideas and better solutions, but it's never ending. So you could find also on that web page, design brief, how it works. I will not explain that too much. Here's also on those pages that how the system is working, how to use design thinking, and I always call that it's a happy marriage of life cycle thinking and design thinking and the business development thinking, and bringing everything nicely together, that it's nothing add-on that you are adding, but it's part of the process, fully integrated. Super important is also the foresighting. As I said, we are living in VUCA, where the world is uncertain, complex, and ambitious, and everything changes all the time. So every company, and in Finland we are not doing this too much, but we should look at the possible futures all the time, looking at the mega trends, how the world is changing, and then bring that, collecting all your unit directors and the team leads and others, and showing that we have selected these mega trends, what this will mean to us on your work, on our business, because that creates much more resilient for upcoming changes, that you have already some plan Bs in a place when that happens. And pandemic have really showed that what was happening. Lighthousing needs too much time. This is a good sample of this kind of lighthousing and foresighting also. Polestar, they said that we are aiming to build climate neutral car by 2030. That is really ambitious. They have this vision project, Polestar Zero project. And the first impression is that, hey, come on, it's impossible. Yeah, sure, it is impossible at the moment. Sure. But actually what this is actually open call to find serious partners and new technologies to help them to achieve this goal. And I really love how they say, we are putting the goal out there and then we are building the roadmap as we go along. And it's also story building. You engage your customer already in a starting point, and you are not getting in a greenwashing side, because everybody wants to have a zero carbon car and they want to help them. So this is really nice story building example. Other really effective way to do it is also IKEA. IKEA also told all the Swedish companies nowadays tell that they want to be in a circular business in 2030. Nice. But what they are using, they have created rules or the framework, design guidelines. And this is really effective way. in your companies also, this is super. If all your partners and suppliers and others will follow those rules, and also internally in R&D, it have a huge impact. And Philips is using that, Dell is using, Siemens is using, lots of companies using this type of approach already. This is how I see today that there's a new design criteria. The reason why to make products, first is make it better, new products, that new technology is so much better than the old technology, using less energy and more efficient and all that. The other is make the old better, make it new again. So maintaining the life, extending that. If you find a way to do it, do it. And of course, third one, don't invent what we don't need. So make sure that it's something beneficial. Business models changing also a lot. I will not go too deep on this, but good example is that if you create a product that will last 30, 40 years, what kind of price tag you should put in there? Because that customer will not come back on you, maybe buying some spare parts or others. So that the business model producing and selling your product doesn't work anymore. Maybe it's better to have a leasing, renting or some other business model, how to make the business with those. And you could find also a new way of creating a business model where the value proposition is still in the middle, but looking also the external social cost and benefits, negative and positive, and those kind of things also in there. So this is the most challenging thing actually in a companies, in a corporation. As bigger the corporation is, as more hierarchical it is. And then you have business units and the heads of the business units. And it creates lots of silos. And those wicked problems, what you are facing, you can't solve those because it doesn't help that if you have the state-of-the-art, most sustainable manufacturing system, but all the other department doesn't really make their best out of it. So design is a team sport, and it's everything interconnected. So we really have to change also the way companies are working. I'm happy with Finnish working culture because we are more flat. So it's not so big step. But some countries in Europe definitely have a huge, huge challenge to move forward. So silos are working in farming, but not so well in the circular economy. And what I'm saying here also that all the consultants like me always coming to you and say that learn out of the box thinking is so important. Yeah, it is, but most important is to think about your own box and how you actually implement all what you have heard today in your own organization, how you could actually change that. And like I said yesterday to Thomas also, that constant learning, and we always emphasize that so much, that everything changing and we have to learn new stuff and all that. I think that more challenging is actually unlearning, to give more space for that new thinking in your head. So here you could find the tools and methods and more materials, but yeah. My last word will be life is too short to design a crap, so start today. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And sorry, Martin, I steal some time from you already.
We will welcome you back. There's no time for any questions just now, so we'll welcome you back at the Q&A session. Thank you for a very inspiring talk. I've listened to a few of your talks, and I think it's lovely how you sort of, it's striking even how you take the very complex subject and break it up so that it's very understandable, and you feel sort of that you just want to go out and make some change. So we'll take questions later on. Now on to our next speaker. Martin Villers will be joining us from Sweden, from Stockholm. I wonder if he's here. There he is.
I'm
Welcome.
here.
So I'll just introduce you now. So up next then is Martin Villers, CEO of the Swedish company Transparent, and also a public speaker on the topic of sustainable innovation. Martin founded and was part of the Stockholm's design studio People. I feel like I want to see you as well when I'm talking about you. So it was part of the People for almost 10 years. And during his time with People, him and his business partner Per Brikstad, came up with the idea and the concept of the transparent speaker. Already in his teens, Martin had a great interest in sustainable development, and he also joined the environmental parliament at the age of 17. Now, transparent speaker, that's what Martin is here to talk about today. The Transparent designs premium speakers. They are made, quote, to last a lifetime. The speakers are designed for a circular economy. That's the whole idea. And when I was doing some research for today, I came across, of course, the website, and I tried very unsuccessfully to reword a quote from the website. So if you don't mind, I'm going to read it up because I love this quote and it says a lot. So this is taken from the Transparent website. It says, "We are on a mission to become the first circular tech brand. We achieve this by making timeless modular electronics that are forever upgradable. We believe products should be getting better with age, and that companies are responsible for removing electronic waste from the world." And so I think that when you think circular design and sustainability, that sort of checks all the boxes. So it's also a very fascinating story how the company came about and how it started. So I'm guessing Martin maybe will talk about that a little bit today, but if not, then go and look at the website and read about if you don't know the company. So again, without further ado, I give the stage to Martin. Varsågod.
Thank you. Tack.
For him maybe as well.
I hope you can all hear me over there. So today I have the great pleasure to join you and talk about our speakers, and my focus will be to try to make some concrete and graspable examples of the stage that Tapani set so well just before me. So I hope this will be some sort of quite graspable thing from a business perspective. So I want to open up with just showing you the products very briefly. It's a range of products made out of glass and aluminum that have upgradable components. Thank you for that nice introduction. I also just want to set the stage by saying my relationship to Lijeqvist, because I worked in advertisement and I moved to Umeå Institute of Design to study, which is really a neighbor city, and lived there for 4 years. And during this time, I studied industrial design, and one of the projects I did was to do packaging design for a Swedish pharmacy to do sunblock. And I think it's a great example of what Tapani said about the micro and the micro of business, because my job was to make something that looked good, had a sporty look, and I designed it that way, and it started selling in the pharmacy, and it was the first physical product that I had designed. So my parents was really proud, and my aunt was sitting in Sundsvall and she saw this product pass by in the morning news show so she was about to call me and say, wow, we can really see that it's becoming something out of all your creativity. And then they lifted this product up and said, this product kills ocean life. So what had happened was that there was zinc oxide in the actual cream, and it's bad for productivity in the oceans. And my company name at the time was Design Meaning. So I was really studying in Umeå to find why we make products. And I think business people and designers alike are a little bit limited in the field how much we can impact. When I discussed this with my fellow students, they were all saying we feel like the band on the Titanic. You know, we're here to play music, but we cannot affect if this boat actually sink. So let's just, you know, play happy songs and go along with sinking and at least make it an enjoyable experience. So this kind of made me really upset and made me go and study extra entrepreneurship in the business school while studying design, and really set the path that led me to you today. And by the end of my studies, I went up to Lycksele to work with the local industries to help them with the design innovation perspective and really try to link that to business. So just wanted to provide that background. And actually, I recently did a DNA study, and it shows that I'm 16% Finnish. So actually, I have relatives on the Umeå side, and they definitely come from Finland. So I feel connected to your region in several ways, and I really had hoped to come up there today to visit. But yeah, Corona and no vaccine in my family fully yet hindered me from that. But let me jump into actually how we're building this business that I'm doing currently. We have three very strong purposes when making these speakers. The first one is to make timeless modular electronics, which I will spend some time talking on. Then we want to offer circular services. And thirdly, we want to be transparent in the full sense of the word. So this is really our purpose as a company, and this should lead to our vision that we're also putting out there in a similar way, I suppose, as Polestar, like an open call to find people that want to help us reach this goal to be the first circular tech brand. So that creates an overview where we really focus all our objectives as a company. And I want to break these down so they become more accessible and concrete. So let's first start with how we make timeless modular electronics. Those words are not just taken from air, but we put a lot of effort into actually making them meaningful to us. So the main thing with making a timeless electronics, or I'll read this out loud, but is that if we extend the life of consumer electronics, it's the single most important thing we can do to reduce their footprint. And I just mentioned that that's the main goal also of the Sustainable Development Goal 13 that Lijeqvist has in the roadmap, but that's really a key factor why we think about making them last longer, and that they should be more like a design furniture in your life than something that has a planned year life of 2 years. So there's several parts that we build into this expression. One thing is that actually the design expression has to be somewhat iconic and timeless for it to last in your home for a long time. So we spend a lot of efforts on making it as clear and impactful as possible, and the drivers are as iconic as possible to be something you don't get bored of easily. And the transparent design helps it to blend into any sort of decor. So the expression needs to be timeless, but of course, the main thing is also thinking about the components in the design. So if you play a lot of Finnish hard rock on them for 10 years, the mechanical stress on the rubber that holds the driver, that creates the sound waves, will be big enough that you can break them mechanically in 10 years. So that's not a lifetime. So then we need to support them with spare parts that can be replaced. So that's the main mechanical stress in our product, but we also have things like a PCB that has a natural wear. Maybe the average PCB can last, if you use it a lot, 20 years, but it still has a limited lifetime because it wears down those PCBs as well. So we need to think about making all those things modular and replaceable. And thirdly, technology changes quite rapidly. We're now on Bluetooth 5. Soon we will be on Bluetooth 5.2. We're on Wi-Fi 6, and soon it will be 7. And obviously the digital services that enables music these days, like Spotify, they're having a few hundred engineers and being upgraded to the latest mobile phone standard. So if you have a speaker that doesn't work with your latest phone, you will be quite disappointed and throw it out. So this is a tricky part of the puzzle for us. So we solved it by having these modular snusdosa kind of ish small wireless upgrade modules that you can connect with a USB and a headphone plug and the back of the speaker, and we have provided power for them so you can hide them away. So it's the same minimal design, but you can upgrade it with new technologies. This year we launched our first Wi-Fi solution, going from just having a Bluetooth solution before. So those three things are really what underbuilds that we make timeless modular electronics. And I think we're now a 9-people company, so we're not like this huge company. So we don't have venture capital backing, we don't have unlimited money, and we have limited resources in terms of people. And we want to have this amazing quality that's upgradable and, like they said in the introduction, lasts a lifetime. It's a little bit at odds, because I think anyone that works with manufacturing knows there are going to be trade-offs with time, quality, and money. You can't have everything. And then you need a strategy how to really achieve that quality when you have limited money. So we think about it a lot like platforms. So we created the first platform first, and then the small one, and now we're on a portable platform, and we use these platforms to also experiment and build outside of the core permanent collection of speakers. So right now we have experimenting with the sculpture that we do in a smaller volume to try new materials and design solutions building on these platforms. But the way we could finance this was through crowdfunding. So we didn't have the millions of crowns or hundreds and thousands of euros necessary to do this ourselves as a design studio. So we went to crowdfunding. And by now we have done 3 crowdfunding projects. And I think it's interesting to display, because a lot of people think when we got $170,000 in pre-orders that, you know, it's an instant success. But as you can see just on the timeline between these 3 projects, there's 4 years in between each of them. And I can tell you, if you went to me when I was 30, I'm now 40, and said, this will take 12 years for you, Martin, to make 3 products, maybe I would have thought it would be, too hard. And we would, if we had venture capital backing, I can tell you, they never give you 12 years to reach a certain scale. So for us, this has been a good way for us to have just enough financing to actually take time to build the products right. So every product that we made has been a minimum 12 months delayed because of all the products demand in manufacturing, just making it modular, making it in these materials that are not usually used in consumer electronics. So as you can see here, we got around 500 backers for each product, and it's quite stressful having them emailing you saying, where's my product? I wait for an extra year. But in our case, it's, since we've been really clear that we want to build them with quality, they have accepted this trade-off. And we have a lot of happy customers because we delivered on the promise of quality. So this is not the only way you can do it, but I think for everyone in the audience, it's really important to go in with a clear mindset of, if you're going to address something like this, that you have the time and the financing necessary to do it right, which I think we have been fortunate to do. And a lot of people thought that we got the first crowdfunding campaign, it was an overnight success. We suddenly got the buzzwords, and I got to meet Daniel Ek, the founder of Spotify, and you become this startup that everyone wants to write about. But then 4 years later, sustainability takes time. So I can illustrate this by showing you our Instagram following. From 2014, it was slowly growing, and now with our 3rd product launched, it is actually taking off. You can see this kind of exponential growth of followers, and it took us really that long time to go from being just 2 to 3 people and now 9 people. And we had to have an e-commerce manager and a social media manager for us to really just make our community something that we could build business from in a more sustainable way. So I think this illustrates that it does take time to build this kind of business. It's never overnight success. It's something that needs a lot of perseverance and focus as a business person. So I'm somewhat happy that I designed this sunblock that was, gave me a wake-up call when I was a design student to just actually come back and just focus on these topics with a strong business focus. So that tells you a little bit why we make timeless modular electronics. The next thing that I want to mention is that's one part. Okay, if we make products that last like design furniture, we're doing a better job than most electronic companies, but it's not the only thing we actually need to solve. We actually need to offer circular services. The reasoning behind this is quite simple. It has to do that we're on just one planet and resources will not be infinitive and they will decline in the coming years and will be more expensive. So we cannot offer the same product at the same price. Actually, currently we're consuming 100 billion of tons of material. And as Tapani mentioned, we're only 8.6% circular. That means 8.6 of those billion tons are returned. And to be honest, as a business, you have to provide a value proposition that consumers understand. And so far, when we talk about circularity, it's quite abstract. And people think it's nice that we care about it, but it's not the main reason to buy our speakers. 40% of the Danish consumers surveyed recently does not understand what circular economy means. So why should they buy something from a circular company? And it's hard to explain. What's 100 billion tons? I actually made an effort to explain it. And it turns out if you take all the buildings on Manhattan, they're around 100 million tons. So, just think about eating all those buildings and then just, thinking about, say, like doing something out of waste of 3,800 of them. Now, the global consumption is actually 1,000 times bigger. So globally, humans now eat 1,000 Manhattans per year. And it's not even a digestive system that actually has chemical processing like our stomach. And we actually shit out something that's easy to create value from, e.g. new plants and organic material. It's worse. We're just throwing it in our oceans and really limiting the ability of future generations. So I think it's a moral imperative as a business person and as a creative person to not, as I think Tapani put it, waste or misuse my creativity. So now I have 2 kids and I'm 40-year-old. So I feel the really strong urgency to in the next 7 years to 2030 show that I had actually put all my creativity into this and I can really say I did something. So how do we do it as a company? I think we have 2 quite strong perspectives. One is the material-centered approach, which is actually thinking about if we can close loops in some way where we can recycle materials to get the materials back at a reduced cost, or if we can resell the product several cycles, that should be valuable. Like the Philips boss said, if we can get 30% back in 8 years, we're happy with paying 5% extra. And that's exactly our mindset as well. But the other part of it, which I think is quite often forgotten, is the user-centered approach. Like I mentioned, most consumers are not ready to buy something that says circular on it because they don't understand what that implicitly would mean. So we actually do ask our users a lot. And we will pilot our first rental program this fall in Stockholm. So it's important that it comes very quickly. And that we pick it up for them. And we're discovering all these things in setting up this pilot that, ultimately will also need to match a price point that they think they want to pay for this. And is that price point per day or per month? These are all things that we need to prototype to make a circular business model work for the consumer, but also make it a profit at the end of the day. So the user-centered approach, I think, really suggests some simple outtakes. It's prolonging the life for the consumer. That could be these updates. that I'm talking about, that we provide free tech upgrades. So if you have the latest phone and you want to stream a higher quality music with the latest wireless protocol, you can do that with our speakers, and we provide that upgrade. The second part is the recovery of components and materials, and I touched upon that. Like if something breaks, is it upgradable? How do we solve that for consumers? EU is coming with something called a right to repair. How do you actually change the battery on our portable speaker? Is that easy or is it hard? Is it expensive or is it, okay? Or is it even covered by the fees already paid? And then the third thing, which I think is huge from a business perspective, is the circulation of products, taking them back to the mothership, so to say, and having the chance to earn money on something you put a lot of effort in producing one more time. So this is the summarization of what we mean when we talk about circular services. The third thing that I wanted to touch upon that we are focusing on is to be transparent. We got the name Transparent as a global brand. We put a lot of effort into making that happen, and we're proud to. We didn't thought it would be possible when we started. It was actually possible because we stopped making transparent speakers in the sense that they were made out of glass and made the metal version one with a recycled metal, and then it was okay to protect the brand. For some reason. So it's not always easy to get the business results you want, but now we're called Transparent and we want to really live up to that name in the fullest sense of the word. So what does it mean to be transparent? Well, obviously for us, it means to be open and authentic in what we do, and that people can trust us. And how can they trust something that comes from a company like us? Well, we need to provide a lot of insights, and to us it comes quite naturally because we come from crowdfunding, and crowdfunding backers, they really appreciate that you share the process. So we've been very transparent in our product development. Like this year with the light speaker, we have a lot of delays about the component shortage globally. We tell them exactly, we have to pay $20 extra for these very small IC components. And, I think people really feel that this is a starting point of democratizing the environmental footprint and what goes into a product. So you can see in a comment here when we were delayed with the reflector for the light and the light speaker, I circle in. I appreciate the focus on sustainability and how you're avoiding production shortcuts to protect this. I think much more companies would get this feedback if they were daring a little bit to put their process out there and to invite this kind of dialogue. So for us, this transparency has been a little bit built into the product development, but how do we do it now when we scale into a lot of different stores? Well, we need to actually design some level of traceability and transparency into the system. So we've been looking in how we can make a traceability system for our products, which means that, if you scan the QR code under the product, you would get when this product was made, what materials goes into all the different components, the repair guides. So again, we try to apply this perspective from two ways. One is the material-centered traceability, which is really, the farm from farm to table approach you have in a restaurant. You really like the taste of, potatoes that comes from a specific place, and preferably the first name of the farmer. So this is the, goal for us as an electronics company to get to that level of transparency. And that's not so easy, I can tell you, with everything. But then, the depth and the accountability of the data is one level. The other one is like how a consumer gets this data. So we've been part of a research project called KEEP, which is a prototype for something that will be called a product passport in the EU. That's going to be a legislative thing coming up in the next year. So if you scan the QR code now on the light speaker underneath it, you actually get to a page where this particular product's data is kept, and it's a decentralized system. So it's using the same system as barcodes. It's a standard that works in the future. So in the future, we don't even need a barcode on the product. You can scan this in the checkout of the store as well. And you get the EON code, the barcode from the same serial number that this web address is. So we are in the beta of this system, and I just wanted to share, let me see, I'm started a little bit late, so I'm on time. But to me, what I've learned with fighting with sustainability as a small company CEO is that make a quick prototype that informs you how much expert help you need. So in this case, it feels very cumbersome doing a carbon footprint on your product. So I was like, how hard can it be? I'll do it myself. So this is a pre-production prototype that I dismantled on the same table that I'm sitting on right now. It took like a little bit longer than I wanted, probably 4 hours. But then I just used a paperweight and I weighted all the components. And you can see from the Excel here that I made, these are the picture of the paperweight or the weight and just listing them and then saying the weight and then guesstimating what material it is. And then sending it to our supplier and say, can you agree that this is the material or is it something else? Then, that took them less time than a formal full-scale life cycle analysis. So I got some confirmation here. You can see ABS 757 and 765A on the 2 different plastic part here. Okay, so what can I do with that data? Then there's different databases, but I actually found an app that's I think it was free or almost free. That's done by a university in Europe. So I downloaded this app and it didn't have the specific ABS plastic, but it had the ABS plastic and said it's 4.5 kilos carbon footprint. So then you can just do your first initial carbon footprint based on this weight and materials, and you get this starting point. I was a little bit hesitant sharing it at first because the PCB is now saying it's 72% of the carbon footprint, but the PCB data in the app is using a laptop PCB as a benchmark, and it's not really a straight comparison to a speaker PCB. But anyways, it's a starting point. So from here, I can now go to a life cycle assessment expert and say, how much more exact can you get? How would you work with our factory or our supplier or subcontractor to find more data on this? And then I can scope their work, and it might be cost a little bit to do it, but then I can be very clear that we're making some progress, and I have a full sense of ownership. And I think really the product passport that the EU will make will probably aim for everyone to enter this kind of data, to democratize the product data and the carbon footprint. So it's an exciting development to me that I could do all this work just by myself in one day, putting 8 hours in. So I think that's something I want to share with all entrepreneurs and manufacturers. It's not as hard as you might think. And obviously, like if you're progressive, there's all sorts of ways to win. The EU is coming with this product passport, the digital product passport, green passport is being called different things, but it will become some level of law already next year. And exactly what of these areas that they're highlighting in their circular economy report will be included in the first year and the second year, etc. But it's clearly stating in this report that it will be digital passports out there. It will establish a new right to repair. And it will push companies to substantiate their environmental claims using product footprint. So then, you can know I've done my first stab, and this will not hit you like another quote unquote environmental tax. It will be something that might lead to new business initiatives. So I hope this sort of overview creates some real concrete examples on how a small company like my company, Transparent, can take on some of these big questions that we're facing, and hopefully be a leader in the turn to a circular economy. Thank you so much. You can reach me on my email or on LinkedIn if you have questions that are not addressed during the panel with me and Tapani. So enjoyed speaking to you today, and hope to get some good questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. Okay, Tapani, would you like to join me on here? Thank you so much for that. I know I have questions, but what we'll do now is we have a few minutes. What time is it now? We have approximately 10 minutes. the passport and the analysis that you showed there, I just wanted to comment quickly that that's of course again the information to come to the customer, and that's a real importance that we as customers and consumers understand what actually also goes into these products. So I'll see first if we have any questions now. I think it's Fredrik has been keeping an eye on the chat. Nothing. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to?
Finnish way.
Who'd like to ask a question? We'll start there. Yes.
I was wondering, what would you say is the main challenge? Is it a technical challenge or is it a mental challenge of the people to go into circular design?
Yeah, I think that the culture, and as we all know that cultural changes take long time. You could make technical changes, you could do all kinds of changes, but this mental side and the cultural side is definitely, but the biggest was one of my last slides, was the way of working, how cooperation companies are working at the moment. So these hierarchical matrix things that you are not solving the problems in a multidisciplinary order, and that is one of the biggest. Not like Martin's company, you know, they 7-8 people and you have problem. Everybody will start to work on that. So, but with big companies, it doesn't work like that.
I had a little bit of a follow-up question there. Martin, do you want to comment on that?
I heard the question semi-well from the audience, but I think it was the biggest challenge getting this circular design into the company culture. Was that the question?
Yes, pretty much, yes.
Okay, well, I used to, before the Transparent, the previous company was a design consultancy called People, and we tried to pitch in sustainability many times to big companies like IKEA and Samsung. The main process we were selling was understanding people first. That's why we were called People. So doing the actual understanding what problems exist in the life of real people, and then designing from that. But we also had a strong sustainability focus. So the one thing that we used a lot was something we call life cycle analysis sketching, which is basically before creating a good brief, we just Google what's that industry. Let's say it's forest harvesters. What's their biggest environmental footprint? Is it in the use phase or is it in the manufacturing phase? Really putting the horns on the devil, so to say, and then highlighting that and say, hey, by the way, when we're being creative in this room, can we try to lower this 5% or 10 even? Maybe that will create a story that you're an industry leader because you're addressing the elephant in the room. So that was a way for us to quickly narrow down the scope of what we needed to solve, because like I said, not everyone is ready to go from being the band on the Titanic to just going up in the cabin and controlling the ship and going from the micro to the macro level. So then we, as the driving force in the company of change, we need to scope that and frame it into a way where it's quite low hanging fruit, so to say. So we feel, we can address this within this project. Sure. So I think that's my number one tip, is to really build it on some logic. So your left brain is happy, and then you can fully apply the right brains in the room and feel that in a safe space.
I think that's what you're both sort of talking about now, is the culture and the people in the company. And I had a question here that I wanted you guys to, if you've probably been in this situation where you have the skeptics, the people or the businesses who don't see the profitability in basically producing less. So how do you pitch that how do you pitch circular design, a circular economy to the complete skeptic, like an elevator pitch, you know?
I think sorry.
No, that's fine.
No,
yes,
please.
yeah, I wasn't clear. That's
I don't see Tapani is like so small, like a post stamp on my screen, so I can see him very small. I can't see if it's not. So I'm trying. Sorry, please go ahead, and I can go second.
Please,
no, Martin.
Martin, you go first. I want 2 elevator pitches here. So
No, to be honest, it is like designing a product. You have to understand your audience. So if you help someone to do what they're already trying to do, but in a easier way, they really like you. And that's what I keep with me anytime I need to get some pitch. So if it's a marketing person, well, yes, this is the #1 branding issue of a generation. And you don't want to try to like put a picture of Greta Thunberg in your slides and then don't substantiate that, because you will get burned from a new generation of consumers. Greenwashing doesn't work anymore. So that's the marketing director. Then you have the engineering director that thinks it's a very fussy approach. Then you actually need to be very different in the way of talking about it. And I talk about reductions and efficiencies and material economy, and just make it very logical why this is a good solution. Increase of quality, increase of customer satisfaction, etc. So it is actually in every single room. It's not one answer. It's always quite a challenge, because this is a new philosophy. It's a new, we hear about it, but so far it's so big and so cumbersome. A lot of people feel very unempowered to jump in the deep end of this pool.
I see Tapani nodding a lot, but you have something to add on there as well.
Yeah, one of the key findings from my side is that circular design sustainability is the issue that you can't sell, actually. If the other side doesn't have a motivation, if you go there and you are the real selling guy, and telling this and telling that, it doesn't work really. So they have to have a little bit motivation. And when it's a big company, find the right people in there that you could align. Is that already in the corporation strategic side, in a top level? Align your effort with them and help them to implement that in a daily work and life. Or there's a few architects inside the R&D, work with them, helping them to get, because that is the other problem, what usually that if you are working in a boiler room and you know that we have to change and you have fantastic ideas and others, but you have working already in that company 5-10 years, even you have credibility and all that, they don't listen to you. So it's easy to get a consultant, somebody from outside that echoes the message that they have tried to get inside the company also, and helping them to get there. The biggest challenge, every company, we have made many surveys about the circular, why people are not moving there and all that. Awareness is high, know-how is high, all that. The biggest challenge is actually how to. So what should I do tomorrow when I go to work?
What are the next
and what
steps?
are the steps? Yeah.
I think we have a question also from the chat, perhaps.
Yeah, we have a question to Martin here. The speaker lasts a lifetime, but is there an end-of-life solution also? What happens after the user period or second-hand market or something?
Yep. So far we take products back, and then we made a smaller, limited, kind of upcrafted version, we call it. Like, we work with more of a craft person. So we made a ceramic speaker with a ceramic artist in France, and we made a recycled metal speaker with a blacksmith in the Swedish archipelago. And things like that. But now we are getting a little bit to a bigger scale where we're going over 10,000 products per year. We're still not in the 200 millions like Nokia, but we are on that path to become a higher volume company. And the prototyping we're doing now with the rent program, I have just been last week to look how we set this refurbishment center up. So there's 2 levels. One is the refurbishment we can do globally in all our fulfillment, which is already done in e-commerce, which is a lot of Amazon customers send back to customers, they polish it up and sell it as new. That's already existing, and that's something people underutilize currently. But Then the second level is actually something that's a little bit broken. Let's say the volume knob is a little bit loose, or there's something happening with the speaker. Then you need a real refurbishment program. So that's something we're prototyping now. We're still at a quite small scale, because to employ someone for that. So now we found some other people working with circular economy, renting out kids strollers that we can co-share this resource with, to actually have someone that we train up over time that can coach other people, so we build it in a scalable way. So the refurbishment program is also, that's where we get spare parts. Pretty much nothing in our speakers apart from the rubber is something that breaks. Well, if you break the glass, yeah, that's hard to fix, but then we recycle it back into the material loop. But the main goal here is not to remanufacture as little as possible, to keep every part as long as possible. So there's some structure to set that up. And then at the end of life, aluminum and glass are two super circular materials. So you can basically just put them in the melt and make a new part of them. They're the heaviest parts in the product, or the glass is the heaviest part, and the aluminum is the most expensive one per gram. But then on the PCB level, there we need to collaborate to actually separate the parts. They're going into kind of a PCB shoer. That's the standard way of recycling PCBs today, and it's not optimal. The perfect way would be to separate materials better in there and not just do it the way they're doing it currently. I don't know, that's a semi-long answer, but yeah, it's something that needs a lot of thought to make it a business case, to say we're going to get money back on this material at some point. If we continue to make this many tons of it, we're probably going to get 1/3 of it back. How do we do with those tons of glass or that aluminum?
Thank you. Is there any more questions from I'm gonna take the liberty of taking a shorter coffee break. So do you have a final question? Yeah.
I have a question about the consumer, because I think that's the most important part about circular economy. How do you get them to pay for the product, not paying for the product, or more for using the product? Because that's, I think, for circular economy. So you use something and that might be a bigger price, but you can use it longer than the product we have now. So how can you convince them to pay for a longer lifetime?
If I understand right, you are referring a traditional linear way of make and sell the product still, and how to convince them to pay more when the lifetime, yeah. We all wish those kind of brands which are better, and more reliable and better quality and all kind of things. But brand have to be really strong, and the product and the quality and all that you are ready to do it. It have to be exceptional comparing other products, because the quantity and the price leads always that okay, but I get 3 machines with that one price, and yeah, it's not easy. I think that it's a long term, and it's going in. Then also, I mean, if there is a basic model, economic model, then maybe the more classic, more premium type of, and then the luxury. So you have to also position that product, and it's much easier with the premium product or luxury product that it's part of the price and the brand what it stands for. So yeah, it's brand. I think that it's a branding issue pretty much. I don't know what Martin thinks about it.
I think good. You can. I'll do the direct-to-consumer example and then follow up with B2B, because they're quite different kind of logics going into those worlds. But in e-commerce, we have something called customer lifetime value, which is basically our competitor Sonos gets people to buy free speakers from them, and that makes them very profitable, because the lifetime value of a consumer is not just selling once, but selling twice or 3 times, and now you're aiming to sell you 6 speakers. So thinking about the lifetime value of a customer, for us with the product passport, when we sell in a channel like Amazon, for example, they don't give you the customer email or any way to create a direct relationship. But if we say scan this QR code and get 1 more year warranty, which is in fact, longer lifetime in a sense, so it connects to that, then they sign up with their email address and we have a chance to talk about our next product with them. So that's a way where the relationship with the customer is valued, and it's a KPI, key performance index, that I think can lead to that. And the second one that we're inventing with the rent program is the product lifetime value, which is how many months has this been rented, how many hours has this been played, and how many times have we circulated it. So the product lifetime has a similar metric and understanding as the customer lifetime value. So the product lifetime value comes in. So I think if you put those things up, it's not so hard to create a good business case. The second logic is the B2B logic. And a good example to me is installing solar power on your roof, or ground drilled heating for your house. It's very common that if someone gets ground drilled heating for their house, the whole neighborhood starts doing it, because that guy becomes or woman becomes the ambassador for that technology, saying how much they save over time because someone showed them the Excel. So that logic is existing in most industries, that there is you forget about the timeline, and if you just offset it over 3 years rather than 12 months, it's actually quite beneficial. So that longevity is quite often easier to sell in a B2B context where people read the Excel. But there's different ways to address it, I think.
Yes, light up the sort of the spark to compete, basically. If you can do it, so can we, that sort of thing. Unfortunately, we have run out of time now. So thank you so much to both speakers, and thank you for taking your time to answer questions as well. It's now time for a little break. We have 25 minutes. For us here at campus, it means coffee outside here. And for you who are joining us by Zoom, I hope you can also take a break, get some fresh air, stretch your legs and so on. And we'll continue at 3:15, so 15:15. So thank you. At Herman's Bike Components. Herman's Bike Components designs and manufactures, got to look at my notes for this, grips, lights, chain guards, reflectors, and rim tapes for the bicycling industry. And of course, we all know that cycling is good for us both health-wise, if we look at as a mode of transport, obviously both health-wise and for the environment compared to other modes of transport. But also, of course, it's good on a social level, gives independence to kids, friends, and we can go out on family outings and so on. But for Herman's, just being part of the biking industry is not enough. So they have now started a journey towards becoming more sustainable. Another quote from another website. This is from Herman's website. It says, "It will not be easy, but it's the right thing to do, and doing it together is the fastest way." So they have now started their journey, and they invite us to follow their journey towards carbon neutrality. So I will give over to Don now, but I believe before that we will watch a short video.
Hi. Hello everyone from my side as well, and thanks for inviting us here. So I will, in a really short time of period, try to introduce you to what we are doing at Herman's Bike Components. So I think it's a relevant topic, and when Thomas was asking, I said, I'm not so sure we're the right one. I think there are other companies who have done more and have kind of developed further, because the topic was from product design. But again, I think you are right. There are a lot of companies just started, as our previous speaker also told us. So I think it could still be helpful for somebody to share what we are doing. So going forward, in, what is it, 12 minutes, 18 slides, I think, so it will go quite fast. This is not a company presentation, so I will just blip through some slides so you have an idea, because quite often we realize that people don't know actually what we are doing. Okay, you had a glimpse on it on the video, so that will save me some time. Briefly about the sustainability report, what we have highlighted there, and then a little bit about what we have done already and what we are planning to do, and some round up with some opportunities. So if we start, we are a 62-year-old company founded in 59 by Bernard Hermans, so quite typical for Ostrobothnia. Entrepreneur founded a company, started rim tapes 62 years ago. Some other milestones: in 2008, we were actually already certified for the environmental management system. In 2017, we switched to 100% renewable energy. And now, looking the last year's 2019, we actually took the decision kind of to focus even more. How to say it? I mean, the summary was that if we want to have customer in the future, if we want to attract the best talents and so forth, we need to do good, not bad. And then we are thinking, we don't know exactly what to do, but we need to do something. And then we actually assigned a sustainability manager on the management level to get it started. So, vision and mission. It's actually, vision is our guiding star, and the mission is what we do every day. And the only thing I want to highlight here is actually that when we reviewed it last year, we tried to really think about from where does it start, how does it need to be, and actually here you find it, that when we develop something new, if it's a product, service, whatever, it needs to be both innovative and sustainable. And we do it in collaborations, those three words. So this means that we set it basically from the top. It needs to be inside everything we do. We are not yet doing everything like this. But as you all know, vision is guiding star. This is what you aim to do in every operation, so to say. So we set a clear kind of guiding star and mission for that. So we have the R&D, we have the manufacturing, we are European, that's our kind of heritage. We are actually working with the OEM, meaning the manufacturer, so our customer is B2B, more than 90%. And that preference is typically not exactly the same as the B2B that you heard before. So you need to consider, okay, how do you transfer that value to the OEM, to some wholesaler, to some bike shop, and then in the end, the person who is buying the bike, how does it matter for that person? Here you see the products, so rear front lights, grips, I think those are the areas where we are growing fastest and most, where we have made the most investment last years. Rim tape reflectors, chain guards, and different kind of accessories are really kind of something we sell, develop, but it's more kind of, you combine the complete package. So these are the products more adding more value to the bike, so to say. These are also, but it's not that obvious for the end consumer, if you say it in that way. Without a rim tape, you will have a puncture quite quickly. Without a reflector, a car will hit you, so you will notice it after that. Okay, sustainability report. So what we did this year is actually to transfer that kind of mission, vision, and our idea to a transparent report. And three sections. First one is actually the carbon footprint you heard about. So what we did here is actually we tried to look at the things, the scopes, where is our carbon footprint, from where does it kind of originate, and then pinpoint what could we do to have a real kind of concrete starting point. So what we found is actually, which I think many of of the other companies in the region will find a similar way. It's the feedstock. Let's say it's from the supply. So in our case, it's the materials which are more than 90% of the CO2 equivalent. It's not our traveling or the freights or something like this. And then we could easily say, okay, so it's not our problem, it's our supplier's problem. But I don't think that will do it. So looking at this, it's really good because we have a clear target. We know that it's the material. We know that it's a challenge, but we know there are solutions already. Like Tapani was mentioning, there are solutions for it. It's more like, say, the extra cost for the kind of the greener product or whatever you call it is too high in many ways or in many areas today. On the other hand, it's not only about that. I mean, it's the circularity about it also. You need to calculate it in a different way. So, okay, the cost per gram maybe is higher, but also maybe the added value is higher. So we know where to focus. Then we set our kind of target. So here the same thing. Oh, it's fuzzy, but 2035, carbon neutral. So also inside our company, we're thinking, how will we do it? Customers are asking. To be honest, I don't know. I know that 90% is from the materials, and I know it's not only us working on it, and I know that once we start work on it, we will find a way. 2035, it's a long time ahead. So, I mean, they are already making the tourism to the moon and so forth. So I think solving a material issue can't be that hard. Then looking at the targets. So our first target is actually, we measure it through reduction of CO2 emissions. And as I already said, it's the focus in actually on the materials. So comparing two different materials, look at the CO2 equivalent, and there we have it. And then we have on the air freight, because we have some shipments from Far East and so on. So of course we can do something about it, but that's not gonna, make a total change. Also here, this was announced, actually it was the first kind of official statement from a global bike brand, Trek, known for many of you, one of the bigger brands, global brands. So actually 2 weeks ago, they announced this one. So they are also being really transparent. They even have the Madone model. How much CO2 emissions do you have from Madone, Excalibur, whatever. So this will happen. And once the big players are starting to do like this, then of course, all the other ones will have to follow in some way. So it's really like for us also, even if I think I'm the greenest person in the room, so I had to do something. Even if I have a green jacket, I mean, really for us, it's a business perspective on it. So it's really not, we don't think we will save the world by doing this. We think we will do more good than bad. That's the point. And I think also, I can come back to it. Also, we, even if we are a company here in the world, we are quite small, but we can do some change. I will get back to it later on. But it's really like our customers are driving it. In the end, it's the consumer. So this is our customer. In the end, it's the consumer. They are the ones starting to require it. It's not a fussy idea from our side, so to say. A couple of things, what we did. So I put 4 points, which we actually spent some time on, since we in 2019 said that, okay, now we will also do something more actively on this. I mean, I imagine a lot of companies change their energy and they do things which you do, but often you do it because it's cheaper or, you save some money on it and then you can utilize it. And you should. I will get back to that also if I have time. But I mean, we looked at the relevant research. What are the standards? What are the politicians saying and so on? We know that the politicians will never save this or do this. It's the business who has to do it. You need money to sort this out. You need innovation and so forth. And then based on that, we set some fact-based targets, actually. And then once we did that, actually try to make the commitments from stakeholders. And that's the owners, the board, customers, employees. And this you have to do over and over again. But it's still, when you make such a thing, you introduce in the mission, vision, of course, you need some commitment also from these ones. and then start to communicate about what you are doing. And actually, if you look at concrete results, so when we launched a sustainability plan, we were the first European bike component supplier to do it. Then suppliers start to contact us also that we have an idea about this. And it starts like this with small things. And then the customers see it and they start to, appreciate it. What are you doing? We want to do something together with you and so forth. So it's actually, to get started is then you will get help because you need some friends to do it. If you sit in your own room and trying to sort it out, it'll never work. Then what we see now going forward, it's of course to assign, it's like any business development, assign some teams, make clear KPIs. For us, for example, we know we need to start product design projects with clear mission to have a fully renewable material in, let's say it in this way. So this we know. So this we need to start. We have some already, and the market has really approached them well. So actually, it's even if it's a small, insignificant component on the bike, but it's something. You start somewhere on the bike, because if you have a full carbon frame, that will be a challenge to sort out in the next 2 years. But you can sort some of the smaller parts, and then our customer in the end can also market that and utilize it, so to say. Then the cooperation, we have already some projects ongoing. At this point, not yet really ready to share them, because it's of course those bike brands, they want to keep it to themselves. But I hope after 1 year, probably some of them will be official. So we know it will happen. And then, as mentioned, and also from the previous speakers, it's really in the culture. So how do you kind of talk about it? So when you select 2 different routes, that you actually select the route which is better in the long term. So it's not cost, it's you have to think about it broader. So I think this is the kind of what we know we have to do. Then if I look at the opportunities, I think we are in many cases in these areas, we really don't see how good we are. I think it's not only about sustainability, but actually Europe is kind of a good performer in this area. So if you look at the world, then Europe is quite good compared to Asia or some other areas. And then if you move to Nordics, I mean, most global companies, maybe they didn't visit Finland or something. They think about Nordic as the place with the green forest and the water and the nice people, hopefully. And then if we move to Ostrobothnia, hardly nobody knows. But just as an example, now we are in a group where it's about 25 suppliers in the bike industry. We are 2 European only, the rest of them are Asian. And actually, we share these ideas about how to develop operation, and sustainability was one topic. Then, immediately after our presentation, I was contacted by a couple of them from Asia, and they are really like, how can you have 100% renewable energy? This is a big challenge in the world. So like if you are operating in China or Taiwan, Vietnam, it's really hard to find that. So for us, it's obvious that of course we choose that if we have 2 options, but for them it's not. So even if this is kind of self-evident for us, in the global world, it's not. So I think we have a huge opportunity here to kind of ride on this wave, also to do good, but at the same time make some business on it. Because that's the only way. You need some funding. It's not the politician who will say that do this and that. It's somebody has to pay for it. So you can pay the salary for somebody and do the things, so to say. So that is, I would say, from my side, kind of a quick run through what we have been doing and see ahead. So as said, we have just got started, but I say to get started and be clear about that will give you a lot of collaboration with both suppliers, internally, customers, and so on. So I think it's, and also to mention before rounding off is that you really notice that even if we are a company here now, 140 persons something plus for the moment, in the global world, actually we are also pushing our competitors now to do the same thing. So even if we are only saving, let's say we save 5,000 tons of CO2. That's a small thing, but all the other ones have to do something. So if they want to compete, they really have to do it. So I think it's zooming out. So like saying chair in the room or whatever, you have to look at it globally. So if you start to do this, actually, you will raise the competitive advantage for the Nordics, and more specifically, we can raise for this region if we want to. So I think it's really like, think about it as, for us, it's for sure. We know sustainability is a competitive advantage for us. It's not the labor cost. It's not the central location or that we are the best English-speaking country or something like this. So that was a quick run through. I think I'm almost at time, 2 minutes over. So thanks from my side.
Thank you, Dan.
Yep.
Thank you so much for this, for sharing Herman's vision for a more sustainable future. We move on to the next speaker, last but not least, Emma Westerlund, Head of Degree Programs and Educational Designer here at Novia, based here in Jakobstad, and she will be presenting the master's program titled Circular Design, starting here in Jakobstad next autumn, 2022. The program will be the first of its kind in Finland, so I will just give the floor to you, Emma. There we go. You need probably a mic. Yeah. Round of applause for Emma then before.
Looking back at our time, future generations might ask questions whether educational institutions did what they could during a period of time when reports telling about the climate changed to be alarming crisis situations where it was actually about life and death. Will they look back at it saying they really did what they could? Would we be able to say, yes, we did what we could. We actually did what we could. It went slowly, it wasn't enough, and it wasn't really enough. And of course, this is really being negative. I know this might not be the right company to be negative in. And I was really glad, I'm really glad to hear about the cases and the examples the three speakers before me have told about. But anyway, we need to, as an educational institution, I can honestly say, no, we're not doing enough. And I think if you are honest too, the companies aren't doing enough either. So what we have to try to do is, of course, to do better. I mean, I really would like the future generations to say that, well, Norway University of Applied Science did do enough, even though I kind of doubt it, but I still hope for it. So what we are doing as a concrete example now is that, or we are trying to do a lot of things, but this thing I'm going to tell you about now is that we are with the start in end of August, we are running a MA program in circular design, which will kind of deal with all the things and more that we have heard about today. And we have chosen to do this first version of this MA program in Swedish here in Jakobstad, because we see this as a region where circular economy and circular design is now really raising. We are dreaming for a circular design center of excellence, or a competence center in circular design here within 5-10 years. And I really hope that all of you would like to be a part of that too. This is still a dream. It's a beginning of a journey. When I first said this idea to our CEO, he was like, well, Emma, if you want to have a center of competence or a center of excellence, you might need some competences. And I was boring. And I do think that building networks and working together, we could actually make that happen here in the region of Jakobstad. But anyway, the MA program will be a flexible program, meaning that we are hoping to have professionals as students in this program. We're not looking necessarily for the young students. We are looking for persons working already in companies or in contexts where this is a really on the top of everybody's mind question. So we are looking for students who are both engineers, product designers, aesthetic, like people representing the fields of aesthetics, but also more about processes and systems. And so we are looking forward to have a joint discipline group coming together with different perspectives and different backgrounds and looking into circular design matters. So I really hope to see people from your companies in this group. So that's also why we have built this program flexibly, meaning that you can both work and study at the same time. And we haven't set the content of the program to 100%. We have kind of a skeleton, but we haven't really set exactly what it's going to be, because we are during the winter or during this autumn and winter, we are going to communicate with the region and with the companies here. Okay, what are your needs? How can we state fund education to fulfill these needs that exist here in the Jakobstad region? So you will hear from us again about this program. So we're really thrilled to do this, because I see it as a part of, in a way, bringing at the moment quite expensive expertise into the region and make it stay here. I mean, we are hoping to educate the region or the representatives of the region and actually make it stay here or have it staying here in Jakobstad. So you will hear from us. And I really would like to have comments and questions, but you know where to find me, most of you know who I am. So we don't need to take those questions here and now. We can do that later. I think it's better that we have questions for Dan, because he's not always in the house. So I think I saved some time. Yes, or did I?
Fantastic. Round of applause for Emma.
Thank you.
Brilliantly so.
Of course, of course I do answer questions if there are anybody.
You are allowed to ask Emma questions as well, basically. Now, I'd like to open up then for any questions. Of course, Tapani is still here, so I'm sure he will answer as well. But let's see first if we have any questions for Don or Emma. No questions. First of all, I'd like to give Thomas the opportunity. I was hoping to do this in the Q&A, because I'm sure that you have a question or some comment that you would maybe like to give. Putting you on the spot here now. One question, okay. The question.
The question.
Yes.
Well, it's more like a comment. I remember when I called Don and asked if he would like to come here today. You were skeptic, and after you have explained why you were skeptic, I said, this is exactly why you need to come, because you told exactly the things that we, Göran, Rasmus, and I have seen so many times. The companies do a lot in our region. The quality is top-notch, but we now just have to start and also to communicate it. And that's what you have done today, and that's really nice. That was a comment. Now I need to find a question.
Is there anything in the chat, or in the meantime, while she's there?
You can take your question first.
Oh, I have so many. So I have actually more questions from the Q&A that's waiting. So if you have
that's
one.
Okay. That's okay. Take them.
Let's go back. We have a few minutes. Oh, there's a question.
Skepticism and people that are thinking it's really for you.
It's a really good question. I think I don't see it as region. I really divide it in customer segment. We have customers who are really focused on it, and they, like Tapani was mentioning, they are ready to discuss it on that level. Then we have those who actually, they just need to do something to present something in a marketed purpose. So it's really like, but they are, the amount of customers who are actually seriously looking at it as a competitive advantage are growing. So it's really, I would say that we treat it customer-wise in that sense. And typically it's the larger customers who actually have the resource. They have their own people really taking care of these things. So, but on the regions, I think for sure it's the Central Europe which are kind of furthest ahead. So hope I answered the question. I think so.
Any other questions? Tapani.
Thanks, Dan. It was really cool presentation and your activities, what you are doing, and really be transparent with your journey, where you are heading is really important. Have you done, I mean, if I understand right, most of your business is business to business, and your customers are really demanding and seeing, but how much you are doing also the end user, the customer research and those kind of, because I suppose they are pretty demanding on sustainability, because the whole biking is that is the movement of sustainability in a way, and all the bikes are modular, all the bikes are repairable, all the bikes, but how you could do it actually more sustainable, I think that it's super important. But how much you are connected and how much you make user research and others to understand the end user, rather than it's always filtered with your direct customer clients.
Yeah, so I think you are spot on. So I think, again, going back to the customer segments, there are some who have really good kind of data and do this regularly. So they have a relevant data they share with us. So then we get the end consumer. And those are typically the ones emphasizing sustainability. And maybe the other ones are doing it less. So as you were mentioning, we are mostly relying on the OEM perspective. So I think going forward, it will be critical to do more and more also the end user, because there's also kind of, there's a new customer base in our area, and that's the kind of e-biker, which is not a sporty one. It's somebody who used the bike to commute. And this one has different preferences, such as this topic and other things also. It's not only price and comfort, there's also other things. So design, integration, and so forth. So I think we will do it more and more, but we are not there yet. We are, at this moment, it's more like we are using the OEM is our customer survey, let's say it in this way. So these we have quite good knowledge about. But as you said, there's always a filter. So
yeah. And there's a huge market. There are huge market on customization side that I want to create my own bike type of, but that is totally different. It's aftermarket sales then. Yeah.
We have a question over here as well.
So one of your slide mentioned that you were aligned with the Paris Agreement. So what do you mean by that? And could you elaborate a bit about your calculation behind that claim? So would it, for example, be the 1.5 number in the Paris, or the 2.0 and so on? Thank you.
I have an easy answer, because I cannot read the Paris Agreement without having the paper in front. So what we mean being aligned is actually to support the CO2 emissions reduction. So we are aligned with that. So if it was misguiding, it was more like we aligned our targets with the EU and the Finnish targets to reduce the CO2. So we have not linked it to any temperature or anything. So for us, it's more to be neutral at a point of time. So that is the point.
Yep, another question over here. Running with the...
Actually, just a comment on the customer behavior. Rasmus Hautala from the CERN project. If you were at the opening session of Hållbarhetsveckan yesterday, there were some interesting statistics from Booking.com. They had asked 29,000 customers at Booking.com different questions. The one that stays in my mind is they asked, what improvements would you like to have to the Booking.com booking site? 37% of 29,000 customers answered, we would like to have a checkbox for sustainability that deletes all non-sustainable hotels, travel services, etc. 37%, that's high.
Fantastic.
And that is up from last year. So really amazing.
And the engagement is there. Any final comments? We're coming to an end of a fantastic afternoon. If not,
I can have a comment.
Oh, okay.
Hey, it's Martin.
Oh, hello. Hi, Martin. Hey.
So I'm not sure if I'm visible or not.
There we go.
No, I think it's such a good question about the Paris Agreement, because it's something that we face too. I think as a startup or any entrepreneur, basically, it's so hard to feel that you are truly accountable to all the sustainability standards out there. And it's hindering a lot of us to talk about it, basically, because you feel like someone's going to call you out and say that's totally, I mean, nothing we do is totally sustainable. Let's be honest. It's a tricky path getting there. And then you have, it's hard to sort of say what's good and what's bad. But I think the Paris Agreement has served a great purpose in making a more common agenda. There's something that, at least before this, there was even worse. I mean, talking about the Paris Agreement, at least there's some common definition. But again, I think what's the most powerful thing is to break it down in those 17 sustainability development goals. I know you have it in the Jakobstad, the roadmap, and I mentioned 2 of them today, the 12 and I think 13. No company can address all those 17. Yes, there's no company can totally say they're totally compliant with the carbon reduction goals, at least not in my perspective. But choosing maybe one of them as a focus area, I think it's a easier starting point to say, well, this is where my industry has the most, where it makes sense the most for us to engage, or this is what our customers care the most about. So I think a nuance to this, the Paris Agreement is actually to look at the sustainability development goals, the 17. I mean, 17 is still too much for any person to remember in their head, but at least they have nice icons. And, you know, as a company leader, it's easier to choose those, and you're actually building on something that's broadly accepted globally as somewhat of a, you know, operational manual for how to achieve this. So I just wanted to put that in there because I think it's a helpful thing for companies that want to make a circular journey to actually dare to also look at those kind of bigger topics like the Paris Agreement and say, hey, we can't do it all, but we're gonna, you know, do some. We're at least gonna read it once and say that this is the area that we think we align with the most. That was like a comment more than an answer. But, all right, thank you.
Tapani.
Other comments for Martin also. What I really love on those goals, it's a formula of good life. And it's again, that is a foresight in creating that kind of vision and communicate that out, and then getting the commitment from countries and companies for that. And it's just like I showed the IKEA list of things. It's a little bit same. Yeah. It creates the framework, what we should and where we should focus.
Thank you. Okay, so we've come to the very end. Thank you so much. I want to just on my behalf say thank you to everybody, to all the speakers. Thank you, Martin, as well. And thank you to all of you that have joined us by Zoom and here. We all have a responsibility to make more sustainable choices. So I thank you for your interest and your engagement. And yeah, thank you for letting me do this little show today. So thank you to you. And I believe maybe if you want to say a few more words or. Okay, I've said it. So off we go. Thank you for today.